Everybody, welcome back to just turn out the video because I don't lose. I've made a habit out of winning lately, and thank the Lord we have Satanic Bible 10HY1GJX. 10HY1GJX. Hit him. 10HY1GGX. Okay, you know, you get the idea. We could remix that, but it's like most songs they make about YouTubers, not gonna be that good is my expectation. There are exceptions. They all involve me, just for the record. It's gonna be one of those episodes, apparently, where I'm self-aggrandizing. KK Slider featuring Egg Boy, Cruising. You know. Kika, 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 Kika. You know that one? If not, you gotta go to LeGrand James's channel on YouTube to find that one. I'm not getting any free booted views here by stealing their content. You can't trick me. We're doing great here. Everything, like, honestly, this run is very well positioned. We're going to have, yeah, no, we're good, we're good. We're gonna have a lot of demon hearts upon leaving this floor, which will, without a doubt, provide ample protection for when we go down to the next floor and try to avoid losing the deal with the devil. I just want to, like, I don't need to get to 5 cents, but I thought we would shoot like half of the poops in there, and if enough of them paid out, we would consider it okay. But, because it's always nice to get an arcade early, because, you know, you oftentimes do get HP from the boss. You know the deal. I mean, am I really just sitting here going to explain how Isaac works to you? I think that that's probably unnecessary. I hope that that's probably unnecessary. But I will say, you never know. You know, I'm trying to get a little bit more of Dan's philosophy of, like, you know, you can never 100% guarantee that everybody is, you know, on the same page with respect to your content. And, you know, I'm definitely, I'm noticing that for sure. Having announced our pregnancy a little bit earlier this week and still have people that come into chat. And by the way, this is not their fault, you know, that their life doesn't revolve around my life. I actually think that's quite healthy. You know, that's the premier drop there as well. You know, they're like, oh my god, chat's trolling you. Kate's not pregnant. And I go, no, she is. And they go, what? Why didn't you say something? And I'm like, I did on every platform except some YouTube videos, because there's a backlog on those and all. I didn't want to be like, okay, we're keeping it a secret until Monday, March the 23rd. Oops, an Isaac episode went out because I miscalculated and now the news is spilled. Hold on, I gotta pause. I want to see what's going on in the Golden Goblet room here. Okay, it's fine. I just wanted to make sure, like, because we're doing this room escape Golden Goblet right now, and if they had time-sensitive, like, not hints, but if they were like, I can't figure out how to boot up the game, then we would, of course, you know, respond to that in time so their video wasn't screwed up. Sure, no? I don't know. What's better, Missing Page 2 or, Flatworm? Hey, here's a question for you. What the heck does Missing Page 2 do? I feel like I've looked that up a lot, and the answer is nothing. Am I insane, or does it give you, like, a random book effect? I'm not sure. Hold on, another message? Really? Recording tomorrow, how do you like it? Hit him up with the, it's really good. Much better than the other one. Thumbs up, seems good. There you go. I mean, I feel like I'm, because we're playing, and this is now probably like 5 or 6 days old, but we're playing through escape room games on Golden Goblet this week. I selected the first one because it just popped up on Steam new releases and had good reviews at the time that I had suggested it. Turns out it wasn't really a great fit. No disrespect meant for the game. I feel like if you are, if you have a VR headset and want an escape room, then that's something that actually might appeal to you, if only by the fact that it's probably one of the few games that actually fulfills both of those relatively niche criteria. If you'll just, thank you. Yeah, let's do it. However, for us playing on, you know, PC wasn't a great fit, so we're playing this classic game called The Room. I say classic, it's not ancient, but I believe it first came out in like the early 2010s. And everybody's like, oh, I played that, I played that, I played that. You're probably saying, I played that. Well, now I've played a little bit of it. It's really good. It's a great game. I'm really getting into these, like, I mean, I don't know how many I'm gonna play, because I think they're actually, like, I mean, I don't know how many I'm gonna play off camera, I should say, because I think they're actually good camera for, or good fodder for on-camera play, but, you know what? You just chill out for a second. I'm gonna get small rock. Might as well do it now, or after the boss fight, just because, of course, things are gonna get harder once there's more things flying around. I like a room escape game. I do. You would think that I wouldn't be a big fan of them because they're puzzle-based, but they're not really puzzle-based. Like, puzzles are tough for me, as you've seen in a lot of games. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad problem solver. Really, like, no, I think that was an okay take. It was not an okay take. Narrator voice, but still not horrible here. Sure, let's get out of here. It's not like the run's in trouble. Like, we're very, very well equipped here. But, you know, escape room, essentially, you're never gonna have to, well, it depends on the quality of the escape room, in my opinion. You're very rarely gonna have to, like, hey, march, you know, this piece has, these rules, now march it through a board without hitting any landmines, or the maiden needs to cross the mud. Please position your cape so that she can, you know, you don't do that. It's like, I found a key behind the chalkboard, and then you know, oh, I found a lock under the table, and then you open the lock, and then it unlocks a drawer. The drawer has like a riddle in it. You solve the riddle. It's like, it's a garbage can. You look on the underside of the garbage can, and it says like, you know, local, and then you type local into like a little, you know, alphanumeric, like, lock sort of situation, and then it gives you, like, a photograph of somebody with their face cut out, and then you put that up over, you know, you get the idea. It's basically just apply object to object, and there's only, like, 7 objects and 7 places to apply. They're not necessarily easy. I do love an escape room, though. I hate that they are expensive. Also, not really a great time to be doing them, because you're touching a bunch of stuff, but, I love an escape room. I really feel like, were I an employer who worked at a business where, I guess, you know, in all businesses, interpersonal, the ability to relate to other people and communicate with them effectively is really important. It's not just like a, you know, only, you know, customer service does this, you know. Hold on. This is a weird room for us. Just give me a second. Joker. Pennywise. Good stuff. Pop this down, blow both of these up, take this. Okay, I like it. No real point to use the Joker card right now, because we teleport back into the room regardless. But I really feel like an escape room is a great opportunity to judge. I mean, it's gonna sound negative, judge someone, but I think, like, it could be great for job interviews, because I have seen people, rise to the occasion in escape rooms. People that maybe you wouldn't have expected to take the lead. You know, things got tough. People were like, I don't know if we're gonna solve this. They said, hey, just give it a minute, and then, you know, think it through, and then all of a sudden, cooler heads prevail, and you start to solve the puzzles, right? And I have seen people absolutely crumble under the pressure and just be like, because, like, part of an escape room, if you've never done an escape room, there's different archetypes of people. Some people are the kind of people that are like, you know, they suggest something as a solution that you know is not right. Like, it's just not the way that the puzzles are solved. I know you're like, how do you know? But I mean, like, what if we shove the photo in the slit in the door and use that to unlock it? And you gotta be like, well, normally they don't work like that. Some people take it better than others. Some people are like, okay, I understand. Some people are like, well, we tried your idea, so I think we should try my idea. And you're like, okay. And then you just, you know, they get emotional about it, which is, you know, fine, I guess, but also a little weird because it's like a leisurely thing. I think it would be a great opportunity to, it would be a good team building exercise, but also a great opportunity to see how, you know, people handled themselves in slightly, because it's not even really like a stressful situation, but in a simulated stressful situation, see how people handled themselves. It's the same, like, you know, when you're playing like Overcooked or something like that. You can learn a lot about people. That's why, like, Kate and I work really well on Overcooked. This is gonna sound, it's gonna sound backwards, but work with me on this one. We work really well in Overcooked. It might surprise you. I don't have that much pride. I don't have that much ego is maybe a better way to put it. The number one thing that annoys me in games like Overcooked is non-specific communication. So when somebody goes like, hey, can you get that? I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. It doesn't make any sense to me. How am I supposed to know what that is to you? That is a relative noun. You know, blah, blah, you get the idea. I'm basically a big nerd about it. If somebody says, hey, can you get the rice and pass it to me? My computer brain is so satisfied. It's like, specific input, executing, get rice, subroutine. It works for me. So Kate is very specific and direct in her communication, and my brain finds that very satisfying. It understands how to work with that, you know? But I played Overcooked with some people where I'm like, hey, can you pass me that bread? And they're like, oh, you want me to pass you the bread? Why don't you get the bread for yourself? And I'm like, well, I really don't have time to explain this right now. Frankly, I would have preferred not to have been in this position, but with you being closer to the bread, I'm performing a task that has a lag time associated with it, so it's more important that this task gets done, but concurrently, we also have a pressing concern with the amount of bread on the table, so if you could possibly provide me with that, you know, you get the idea. You get the idea. I don't need to go any further than that. I thought we knew what that pill was, which didn't make sense because it was a question mark, but, you know, just let it happen. I don't lose on quarantine, as we know. But yeah, I mean, if I were an employer, would I do interviews at an escape room? No, I'm pretty sure I would just do the classic other interview, because I would, you know, where I'd put people into like a sterile white office and then went, tell me about your weaknesses. Tell me about your strengths. Because, you know, escape rooms, they're pretty expensive. But if I was the hiring manager for, like, a big-time startup that had unlimited venture capital funding, I'd be like, hey, how you doing, guys? I'm Rickard, your hiring manager here at Selfie Corps. Yo, I'll take it. Today we're going to do a totally rad escape room. It's free trade. You get the idea. Ooh, I don't think I've burned myself a little bit too much on potato peelers. So let's take it again as an opportunity to redeem our previous misgivings. Didn't see that one coming, did you? I have a bone to pick about job interviews, and actually, you know what? I think you will believe this. Partly because I've said it before, but I am actually, historically at least, it's been a long time, but I am a pretty good job interviewee. I think I'm well-spoken, and it's like being, you know, learning how to read at a young age. I think it gives you a disproportionate advantage. You know, you might know less or be less qualified than other candidates, but if you're able to communicate better, it makes you, well, better is kind of a value judgment, but you know, you get the idea. If you come across as communicating better via first impressions, then you kind of have a disproportionate advantage, I think. So if anything, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. People always want to hire me. I think it's rather that people like would take me into an interview and be like, this guy speaks somewhat confidently and also has a nice voice. I trust him. Which is not, you know, I don't think there's any reason not to, but at the same time, that might not be, you know, a judgment based on criteria that you're actually looking for unless you're hiring for a radio station. Regardless. I've done fairly well with interviews, but it's been a long time. I always, at least now that I'm older, I get very annoyed with this interview question that apparently is ubiquitous, which is, what is your greatest weakness? I've done this exact bit before, by the way, but I'm wondering, because I don't remember how it went down, I'm wondering if it's changed, you know, as my life has changed a little bit. I feel like people are always, they give advice about how to answer that question. And the advice that I've heard, and I don't think this is actually good advice, but I'm not a, you know, a resume expert, job interview expert, so like, don't take it from me. If you're in a position where this information would be very relevant, you should seek out an expert's opinion, right? But some strategy that I've heard for that is say a weakness that also comes across like a strength. I care too much. Sometimes I work too hard, and it intimidates the rest of my team members. You know? Let's try. I regret nothing. I've always thought that advice was like BS. Because, I mean, basically what I'm gonna ask is an insulting question here. How dumb do you think the interviewer is? That they don't, you know... If I feel like if I were hiring, maybe I wouldn't care that much about the answer, for one. But if... Well, then why ask it, I guess, is the question there. But, I mean, we're speaking in hypotheticals. But if I were the interviewer and somebody was like, you know, sometimes I find that I care more than other people, and that has led me to get hurt. I'm like, okay, but that's not... In my head... I know what you're doing. You read the interview book, and you're trying to spin a negative question into a positive question. I really feel like if I were in charge of hiring or had any influence, I would much rather have an honest answer to that question. Like, if I were giving an interview right now, or if I were receiving an interview, I don't know who's the giver and who's the receiver. And let's just leave it at that. But I feel like you know, maybe on interview 1 at least, maybe if I got to interview 500, I'd start to mix it up a little bit because something's not working. But I feel like I would have a lot of good answers, you know? Like, what would my greatest weakness be? Well, I've been working from home as my own boss while making my own hours since I was like 22 years old. I feel like I work relatively well with other people, but at the same time, as compared to, you know... Yo, that's Guppy. Let's stick with Guppy's head. We can actually use the damage more than the HP right now. You know, compared to someone else my age who's been in, like, the corporate environment for a decade now, they're a little bit more attuned to the culture, probably. Whereas for me, it's going to be an adjustment period, and, you know, I'm good with time management, and I'm not late regularly or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, it might take a little bit for me to get back into the wheelhouse of, like, listening to other people for direction and having them be the authority instead of me being the authority. Like, I think that's an honest answer to the question that tells the interviewer something. I feel like you could phrase that in a way that makes you sound better, but it would come across as like disingenuous, right? You'd be like, well, I've been running my own business for so long. I've been so successful, I'm not used to not being in the driver's seat. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel like when you answer that question and it smacks of some genuinity, it makes you look honest, which is maybe what they're looking for with the question in and of itself. If you answer it in a way that seems like you're trying to win the interview question via rhetoric, I think it makes you seem a little bit like, well, non-genuine, for sure, but secondarily, like, maybe you don't feel confident in actually talking about your weaknesses in this context, which is not necessarily a super negative, but I think you could have handled it a little bit better. But I don't know. I looked at my demographics because we did check the wire recently, and seems like based on my demographics, there may be people in the community that are a little bit more involved. Oh, my mistake. I honestly thought we were on the depths 1, so I'm dumb. But secondarily, we're totally set here. So I apologize. At the same time, we're very, very clear here. But yeah, I wonder if there isn't conventional, sensible wisdom. Like, I feel like, and I don't know whether this is true, because I just wanted to drop it, please. But I feel like, you know, wait, I'm about to speak about corporate culture, which makes no sense because I have not worked in a corporate environment for about a decade. But I feel like there's more of a focus now on, like, openness, whereas I mean, I very much grew up in an era where, you know, even my parents and grandparents were like, if you want a job, just put on a suit and walk into ask to speak to the manager as soon as you walk in the door, and then fake it till you make it. Now, I'm not sure if that's still as prevalent. Maybe it is. I don't know. Again, I'm speaking of something of which, I mean, I couched your expectations at the start of this, so I don't want to hear any flack, okay? I did say if you were listening to me for advice on how to get a job, I hope that you're looking for a job as a YouTuber or streamer, because I do give my thoughts on that on occasion. Like every Tuesday at 3 a.m. Pacific time, Dan Giesling and I do Check the Wire. But in terms of like how to ace your programming interview, I have no clue. I would, if you can't fizz buzz, that would be like step number 1. Like that's, you really got to get on that. Learn how to use your medulo operator. Apart from that, I genuinely have no idea. But I really like... I did do well in interviews. Again, I'm not being braggadocious. If anything, it got me in over my head. I did work as a database administrator one summer, and I was qualified for the job when I walked out the door. When I walked in the door, I was not qualified. But I gave, you know, I gave the interview, and, you know, the interviewer was like, how would you set up this database? In my head, I was like, I don't really know, but, like, you know, a database. I'm aware of, like, the basics. I know it's a relational way to store information. So you have, like, an entry that's based on an immutable piece of DNA, or not DNA, but information about somebody, like, you know, maybe their last name. Which is not immutable, but, you know, you get the idea. I'm making this up off the seat of my pants. So I was like, well, you would take, you would sort them all based on some kind of index, like their last name, and you would just use that as an entry or a row in the database. And then all the other pieces of data, like yada, 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 would be represented by the columns in that. And then you just sort of, like, stack them together and give various options for how to generate reports. And I got hired. And, like, I was, for real... For a long time doing that job, I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out as I went. It's not really a success story. It was a 10-week contract. I got paid almost nothing, and probably got paid what I was worth, to be honest with you, but at the same time, I'll never forget. I feel bad. I do, but, you know, it was different times. It was back then in the recession, but... They told me on, like, my final day there, they were like, it was between you and, like, a computer science student, but, you know, the computer science student didn't sound like he knew what he was talking about. And I was like, lady, if you only knew. If you only knew. And, by the way, that's probably why if you want to work at, like, a tech company, they have people who actually know what they're doing, handling the hiring, instead of just like, I'm the regional manager of this, you know, non-tech related business, and we're going to evaluate you on your ability to code. I guess it's not really coding, but, you know. Regardless. Different times, different times. I feel like you can give an honest answer to that question. I mean, I feel like you can give an honest answer to most interview questions. If you've lived a good life. I don't think I've ever, like, tried to misrepresent. I mean, I'm not trying to catch you in a trick question, or, like, to catch you in a technicality here. But they asked, how would you make this database? I told them how I would make it. It's like the same way if you asked, like, how would you build a house? I would be like, well, first you gotta, like, you know, get the blueprints from the architect, and then you would make probably a concrete foundation. You put some posts in the ground for that. Then you're gonna dig it out, pour some concrete. There's your foundation right there. And then, you know, I know the principles. Now, if you were like, okay, pour the foundation, I would be, pour the what now? Google how to pour foundation, blah, blah, blah. I'm not victim blaming here, because there is no victim in this story. However, if they had asked me to do literally anything in Microsoft Access, which is the software I use to make the database, if they asked me to do literally anything in that software, the interview would have ended right there. I would be like, what the heck, Microsoft A? I thought Microsoft only made W and X. Anyway, that was a long time ago. It was good memories, actually. I learned a lot on that job. Honestly, I think I owe that job. Well, not really. If anything, they owe me based on the wages I was paid. But, I think I owe that job for having a little bit of head start in programming. Especially, like, once I started to do, like, web programming. Like, once I started to use, like, the... I don't even know, because I haven't programmed in, like, a year now, but... I don't know, is the mean stack still one of the most common, stacks for web development? Or have we moved on to something else now? Web development moves pretty fast, so it's possible that I just sounded like an old dinosaur. But, like... You know, UI stuff, no idea. As soon as we got into, like, using MongoDB to build a relational... Or, I can't remember. Mongo might be non-relational. I can't remember. Anyway, you get these... You got the database, you pull the data from it. I was like, I'm in heaven. I've written enough queries to last a lifetime. And to laugh a lifetime. If you find bad queries amusing. Bozo. I'm not even supposed to be here. Etc., etc. Well, anyway, what else is going on in life? Very little, except for, you know, bringing another human life into the world. Which, it sounds like I'm making a joke, but it is really, like, pretty mundane. For the time being. It's like a Slint song, you know? It's like 5.5 minutes of, like... calm and routine and introspection, and then every once in a while there's like a 30-second burst of like Hame! And then you get back to normalcy. Like last night, for example, spent a lot of time watching nature documentaries on television. And then I went to play Animal Crossing, and my wife was like, I'm very nauseous. Can you rub my back? So I just rubbed her back for like 3 hours. Now, where was the calmness in that? The calmness was the nature documentaries. Where was the screaming? My rotator cuff around 45 minutes in. But it's hard. I'm not saying that Kate would not be sympathetic to that, but it's I can't deny that holding, like, bearing the child is an incredible trump card, ladies, and I encourage you not to abuse it, but I encourage you to use it, because, you know, you might not get that many opportunities in your life to do it. To have the ability to be like, to have an automatic excuse, and then if there's ever any pushback, be like, well, sorry, I'm just a little exhausted from carrying your child inside of me. You know, there's the greatest excuse. That's like, you know, being 9 years old and having a fever, and then your mom asks you to do something. You just go, she's like, oh my god, my baby. I'm sorry I asked you to take out the garbage, I forgot. My baby has a fever. You know, you use it while you got it. Don't abuse it, but use it. I know the game and how it's played. We're trying to get... Okay. We won, because we never lose. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya!